So Tim Pool has truly gone off the deep end, and it's been really remarkable to watch. I mean, originally he just started off by saying, I don't support Donald Trump, but these Democrats, they're going too far left. They're getting a little too crazy for me. Now he is full on. He says he's voting for Donald Trump. He's super pro Republican conservative. Democrats are all crazy Antifa members. He's just really gone off the deep end. So here is Tim Pool talking about democratic socialism and AOC, and he really, I feel like, has a fundamental misunderstanding of what democratic socialism is. But first, I think it's really funny because he, so this is not exactly relevant to the clip, but if you can see behind him, he has Democrats are too far left in the Google search bar and like a bunch of, the things that have popped up because of that. So he was trying to kind of make the case that Democrats have gone too far left, and so what he did is he Googled Democrats too far left and said, look at all these articles about how Democrats have gone too far left. But it's like, that's what Google does. If you search something, it will show you articles that have that in the title. If I type in Republicans too far right, that's what will pop up. I would never use that as evidence that Republicans have gone too far right. That's not what I would point to, like Google search pop-ups. So it's just silly. That's not the point of the clip, but it's just funny. So anyway, we'll play the clip and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it.
And it's remarkable. I don't know if you guys saw this viral video from 2018 of Tucker Carlson talking to Dr. Cornel West. A tremendous respect to both of these individuals. It was a brilliant conversation. And Cornel West basically said democratic socialism is making sure that every person, regardless of race, color, whatever, will live with dignity and access to resources. Tucker Carlson said, if that's what it is, then I'm all for it. Clip. That's where it stops. It goes viral saying, aha, see, democratic socialism is amazing. Tucker Carlson agrees. And what they don't tell you is that democratic socialism is not social democracy. It's quite literally seizing the means of production. That's what socialism wants. When the public controls all of the means of production, they can't define where the means of production begins and where it ends. For instance, I have a camera in front of my face right now and a microphone in front of my mouth. Is this the means of production? Yes. I don't have a factory. I'm sitting in a room and I'm talking. I'm producing things using these tools. Should someone else own them? I've asked many socialists. I've got many different answers. That's what Ocasio-Cortez is all about.
So I think that this just really highlights, and this might not be just Tim Pool's fault. There has been a lot of misinformation on this concept. To be fair though, Tim Pool does say that he talks to a bunch of socialists, and this is still his understanding of it. So not so sure how many socialists he talked to. Now, I would like to be clear. I do not consider myself a democratic socialist. I'm a social democrat that leans pretty far left. I think that we should do things like incentivize worker-owned co-ops, but not everyone. I don't think everything should be a worker-owned co-op. I think it's good if we have workers on the board of directors of corporations, but I don't consider myself a socialist. Regardless, I still understand what it is. I don't think that Tim Pool has a firm grasp on what it means because he talks about, well, okay, who would own the microphone? Who would own my camera? And it's pretty straightforward. It's just the idea that the workers of a company would have partial ownership of the company, and like a pretty clear picture of like what you could point to as like what socialists would kind of envision a larger corporation would look like. The Mondragon Corporation in Spain is like a very large worker-owned co-op. That is basically what like a company would look like under democratic socialism. Now, I don't think that that's what every single company should look like, but that's an example of what it would look like, and they have pretty successful outcomes to my understanding. So definitely something to check out. I also think that Vosh on YouTube, he does a really good job of kind of explaining the concept of democratic socialism in a pretty easy to understand way. And that's really all it is. It's just the idea that workers have like ownership of the company they work for. They have ownership in this kind of agency in their lives. So like Tim Pool, for example, I don't think he has any employees. Maybe he has one, but I don't think he has one. No one else would own his camera and his microphone because no one else works for him. It's pretty straightforward. But there's all this fear mongering. Well, it's like everything would be stolen and given to someone, I don't know who. And like there's also the distinction between just regular socialism, like what we've seen implemented in the Soviet Union. That would be more state socialism, I believe. And then democratic socialism is just this idea that it's socialism paired with a democratic government where people are able to vote and stuff. Opposed to the Soviet Union, not a whole lot of democracy that was going on. That would be one of the main differences. Now, there are elements of social democracy in most people's vision of what democratic socialism would look like. Because if you notice, I didn't mention anything like Medicare for all or free college or anything like that. Most people that consider themselves democratic socialists push for social democratic policies like Medicare for all or socialized a variety of different social programs. But that's really all that it means. That's all. It really hasn't been implemented in the way that a lot of people talk about. Like I said, that's not even what I want to see implemented. I don't consider myself a socialist. But Tim Pool just saying, and also just the claim that AOC wants to take away his microphone and his camera. No, she doesn't. She's never called for anything like that. She's a social democrat. She calls herself a democratic socialist, but she's never argued for anything even remotely close to what a democratic socialist would say, because she's never called for worker ownership of the means of production. She said some stuff about worker co-ops, but not really. She's a social democrat. Bernie's a social democrat. They use the label democratic socialist. That's what they choose to do. I think it might have hurt Bernie in the primary. There's a good chance it did, definitely with some older voters. But at the end of the day, they're not democratic socialists. They don't call for things that pertain to democratic socialists. But people like Tim Pool, I think that it's just a way to kind of scare people. And there's so much stigma around these concepts that it's easy to just kind of throw them out there and think, oh, they're just going to take everything and everything will be bad, without actually arguing against what it truly is. Like, I would argue against democratic socialism. I don't think that that is the correct way to go. I don't think that there should be worker ownership of the means of production. But I'm going to be fair to the arguments that they're making and not just use it as a fear tactic where, like, oh, everybody's going to starve and everything's just going to be taken away. It's like, that's not really arguing for against the actual ideas. And so I think that people like Tim Pool, it's fear mongering is what it is. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you disagree with anything I said or if I got anything incorrect, please leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe and have a great day.